Welcome to the Living Aware Parenting podcast. My name's Marion Rose, PhD, and I am so glad to be sharing about aware parenting with you. Aware parenting was created by Aletha Salter, PhD. You can find her work at the Aware Parenting Institute website at www.awareparenting.com. I'm a Level 2 Aware Parenting instructor and the Regional Coordinator for Australia, New Zealand and Indonesia. I've been an aware parenting instructor since 2005, and I've been practicing aware parenting since my daughter, the first of my two children, was a baby in 2002. In the Living Aware Parenting podcast, I share about Aletha Salter's work in the most distilled and concise way that I can to support parents to understand the philosophy of this groundbreaking approach, the practices and ways to live and embody this life-changing work. I've been fascinated by this work for more than 2 decades, and my understanding of it becomes more and more nuanced over time. I am so willing for this podcast to bring you even more clarity, compassion, and deep care in your own unique journey. Thank you for coming on this voyage of discovery with me. Hello again, lovely you. So here's another little episode about my perspective, and of course it's all coming through me, everything I share. I felt called to share a little summary of aware parenting, things that are really jump out at me at the moment, which will change from week to week as well, and particularly depending on what course I'm creating or book I'm writing or whatever it is, or what's showing up with my mentees, what they're sharing. And at the moment, what really speaks to me, which I'd love to communicate, is that aware parenting is so much about really, really, really understanding babies and children and teens. And I would say then human beings, because that's, our early years are such a foundation of human beings. And so really being able to discern out through observation, what is the truest form of our nature? What is conditioning? What's most helpful in any culture? And I love how, again, Aletha talks about this in these beautiful early sentences in The Aware Baby. Aletha Salter, the founder of Aware Parenting, about how in every culture there are particular beliefs about what is most helpful for children and what they need. And that will so much depend on the time and the era, and used to be much more the climate, things like that, which still is, and how much those often seem to be what's helpful. But so often those are the most helpful things for the culture and not actually the most helpful things for the most optimal development of that individual. And so for me, aware parenting really is about understanding what is most helpful for the optimal development of any individual in a particular family and culture and era. So it's still about understanding that the influence of the environment and how important it is still that to take that into account in terms of what might be needed. So for example, for most children living in very snowy climates, like my understanding is many indigenous cultures had 50 words for snow in very cold climates, because that was needed information. So of course it's going to be specific, and in different cultures different things are potentially going to be more helpful for children. So that's still going to vary depending on the environment and the culture and the time, and it's still supporting the most optimal development on all layers and levels within that culture. And how beautiful is that as like a foundation? And really that the cornerstone is connection. So easy to focus on crying, for example, in aware parenting, but connection is the cornerstone. And that does mean the connection with ourselves. It's really the foundation of everything. Because if we're not connected with ourselves, it's going to be harder for us to connect with our baby, our child, our teen. And also really understanding that as a parent, it really is possible to be deeply connected with throughout the whole lifespan So to be connected with our baby and our toddler. So it's not the whole idea of the what is it called in other paradigms, the terrible twos and about teenagers as well. We can be deeply connected with toddlers, because when we understand that so much of the behaviour that is maligned in this culture is usually the result of, by the time they've got to the age, unmet needs, particularly for choice, and accumulated feelings lead to so many of the things that parents find challenging. It's not something wrong with the toddlers, it's because we're in a culture where we're not taught as parents, and we haven't experienced ourselves for generations, how to most helpfully respond to babies and toddlers so that they don't need to be throwing things everywhere and all the things that parents might find challenging, and understanding that big crying is part of their innate wisdom for healing. It's very different, isn't it? It's possible throughout the whole era to stay connected, and if there are ruptures, that aware parenting offers the practices and tools to support healing from those ruptures. Again, how amazing is that? And even if that takes time, as I've shared from my own experience, that healing is possible, reconnection is possible. The second understanding for me is really a deep foundation, is that children are never bad. No such thing as bad in inverted commas. I don't even use that word in general, but just, no such thing as misbehaviour. All of the judgments and the harsh perspectives of children, there are so many of them. They're just simply not true. And enough of their needs are met, enough of their feelings are heard, and that doesn't mean all of their needs, it doesn't mean all of their feelings, but enough. They are loving beings who love to cooperate and contribute and sleep when they're tired and be naturally gentle and present. When they're not being those things, it's our role to understand why and to support them to return to closer than that. And again, if you've listened to my first episode in this series where I talk about my own experience as a baby, I'm so passionate about helping people understand that babies feel deeply. They feel deeply and are deeply affected by what they experience, and they can heal. This is such a core gift of aware parenting, to really, really, really clearly see babies, to really see them, to see, well, like my book title, The Emotional World of Babies, that really understanding that. Emotional Life of Babies, that's the title, isn't it? I never remember what the titles are. And they can heal from stress and trauma. Amazing way of understanding babies, isn't it? And that babies and children experience way more painful feelings than most of us ever imagined, even if we're doing everything to protect them from stress and trauma, to meet their needs, to be responsive and caring and loving. I think for most parents who practice aware parenting, it's often a real surprise that even if they're aiming to do all those things, how many big painful feelings children have. It's quite often a big shift. And the babies and children are learning from us all the time. They learn about connection and about the expression of feelings and about what feelings are welcome and when. They are taking in so much information from us. And that can be really big to hold, can't it? I think for most parents that's really big to be with, and to to have deep compassion for ourselves, how much influence we have, and that we're all, myself included, going to at times do things we regret, and so on. Hello, little Buddha. And another thing, that babies learn to suppress feelings very early on, and suppression or dissociation is vital. It's vital, it's needed, it's important to have that as a process when there isn't the available safety to feel and express feelings in healing ways. And big, loud crying and raging is completely normal and natural and healthy and healing, as long as there is the emotional safety, as long as there's a balance of attention. In other words, closeness with, in general, it's the closeness with a loved, supportive person. All babies and all children experience many big painful feelings. And if they don't get to express them, whatever ones they're not getting to express, they will need to suppress them, leading to dissociation, accumulated feelings, agitation and aggression. Some children it will be more dissociations, some people will show up more as aggression, where they're also not feeling the feelings, the original feelings. And most of all, that aware parenting invites us on a long journey of our own, as we are invited to see ourselves through the same lens through which we see our children. Compassionate lens, that when we're behaving in ways we don't enjoy, let's look at what the real cause is. That we have deep needs for connection. So again, the three aspects: deep needs for connection, looking at the true source of our behaviours, protecting ourselves from stress and trauma when possible, and using our innate healing processes, again, in places where we experience being safe and heard and loved. Aware parenting challenges the status quo and our core beliefs about human beings, and it can bring about the most immense safety, connection and togetherness. So there's a little random summary again in all the upcoming episodes. I'm going to be sharing detail about all of these things, and I felt called to just bring it together, a selection of some that I'm with right in this moment. Thank you again for watching or listening to this episode, and I think there's maybe one more in this series. So I invite you to come and listen to or watch that one. And lots of love to you. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode. I'm so willing for you to have found it helpful. If you'd like further resources, here is a summary of the details. You can find the full information in the show notes. I do have another podcast, the Marion Rose podcast, where I talk about all my other interests and offerings. It includes the Marion Method work, which consists of reparenting as well as what I call reculturing, which includes reclaiming our yeses and nos, getting free from what I call disconnected domination culture conditioning, such as guilt and coercion, and lots more. As of September 2025, Aletha Salter PhD has 7 published books, which you can find on her website, which is awareparenting.com/books.htm. And as of September 2025, I have 4 solo published books for parents and 2 for children, with more coming soon. You can also find out about those on my website, which is marionrose.net/books. In the show notes, I also share links for my free and paid online courses, one-to-one mentoring and social media. I also give information about becoming an aware parenting instructor in my region and finding other aware parenting instructors to work with. See you in the next episode.